Each year, we select a Japanese American veteran that is interred here, and we would like to share a little about the man or woman with you. We're very fortunate today to honor a great man whom many of us knew, Robert Bob Nakamoto, who we lost in 2014. His daughter May is here with us, and her son, United States Marine Corps Major Mike Lewis, to tell us a little about him. Also, May's brother Mike, his wife Shizuko, and their sons Ko and Rio are here today. Ladies and gentlemen, May Nakamoto and United States Marine Corps Major Mike Lewis.
Thanks so much. I also wanted to recognize my little sister Amy's husband Anthony and her sons Marcus and Austin. Owen's at a soccer tournament with my sister. My brother Robert couldn't be here, he's in Tennessee. So we're honored to be here on the 75th year of the annual Memorial Day service and speak about our late father Bob. He's interned here at Arlington Cemetery in the niche wall N70K122. Bob was second generation Nisei, not a car, born in Sacramento, California. He was the oldest of 8 children. His early days included growing up on his family's persimmon farm in Northern California. When the war escalated and Executive Order 9066 was put into action on February 19, 1942, my dad, his family were sent to the camps. He spent the bulk of his years at Camp Topaz in Utah. He rarely ever spoke about the camps, but in his later years, he seemed to try to put a positive spin on a couple parts. He would mention with a grin that towards the end of their time, the guard didn't seem to be watching them, so he and a couple others would sneak out of the camp and explore close by. He also mentioned that the water in the camp was nice and cold. It was the core of his character, always finding something positive and trying to find humor. He developed a fierce determination to succeed and carried a deep love for our country. He was so proud to be an American and determined to bring honor to his family and country. He served in the Air Force during the Korean War and was a lifetime VFW member. 3 of his younger brothers also served in the military. He earned his bachelor's degree from California State University, Sacramento, and he always used to tell us one of the few things in life that no one could ever take away from you was your education. So that was a big important to him. Some of his highlights for his professional career, he worked for the state of California. He was a deputy commissioner for planning for the state of Texas and conferred the title of honorary Texas citizen, director of planning for Medicare and Medicaid programs, director of corporate systems development for MCI. In his early 50s, he decided to start his own company, Base Technologies. He started the company out of his condo and grew it to an award-winning IT company with tens of millions of dollars in revenue and awards in the 25-plus years he owned it. He also served on the presidential task forces for both parties. Some of his key awards were Placer High School Hall of Fame, which he graduated from in Auburn, California, JAVA's Terry Shima Leadership Award, which meant the world to him, and the Government of Japan Foreign Minister's Award in recognition of his efforts to enhance Japan-U.S. relations. He was always active in veteran and community service in organizations to include VFW, JACL, JAVA, and PPOM. JAVA was an organization that he was extremely passionate about. It was a running joke that if he could rope you in, you were going to a JAVA activity. Community involvement was a top priority for Bob, and it showed through his dedication and involvement in JAVA. Bob served as president of JAVA for 4 years, from January 2007 to December 31st, 2010. And I didn't know Terry was going to be here, but I said, to quote everyone's hero, Terry Shima, Bob spent lots of corporate and personal time handling JAVA business. Why? Because he cared. He was determined to make JAVA succeed. He gave JAVA the same care and attention he gave to a successful technology corporation. Some of the major projects that Bob participated in were the National Japanese Memorial. He co-sponsored the Fairfax County Asian American History Project, chaired the Finance Committee of the Combined Veterans Group, which worked to obtain congressional approval for the Congressional Gold Medal, which is the highest honor this nation can bestow. And he participated as a speaker on Java's Speaker Bureau, visiting think tanks, corporations, community organizations, and government offices to tell the Japanese American story. For all his accomplishments, Bob was most well known for his love of people. He remained humble and generous. He loved connecting people and watching them grow and succeed. He had a few simple phrases, but they always stuck with me. One of his favorite phrases was, "Keep plugging away." His humble way of saying, never quit, shake off the doubt or tough times, and you will accomplish your goals. And he would always say, just be happy. He always wanted people to be happy. And the other one, that was yesterday, this is today. His way of saying, shake off the negative, focus, and appreciate today. Bob broke through many glass ceilings. He started his own company in his 50s because he said he believed that as a Japanese American, it was the only way for him to achieve the level of success that he wanted. He was a frequent visitor to events at the Japanese ambassador's home. He was interviewed on stage by former President George H.W. Bush about the Medicare health system because he was still working at the age of 70. He also had the honor of attending and being hosted at the White House by former President Obama. My dad once mentioned that after they got out of the camps, his grandparents told them they better not dare complain. He said that they told him when they arrived in this country, they had no place to stay and they couldn't speak the language, so they didn't want to hear any complaints. It's another positive aspect he carried even as he battled lung cancer for the last 5 years of his life. Not once, never, did he ever complain. He was determined to live life and make the most of each day. He displayed what I would like to think of as a true American spirit. So having this as his final resting place seems to cement what he worked for his entire life. He might not have known it as he was plugging away, but his fierce patriotism, work ethic, and determination led us to gathering today to remember him as part of this great event. So today's even more special as my son Mike is here to say a few words about him as well. My dad played a huge role in helping me raise him, and towards the end when he really wasn't feeling well, I would remind him that he helped me raise a Marine Corps officer, and he'd get a little grin. So the tradition of patriotism and service to our country continues. We have deepest gratitude to the Kobayashi family for their sacrifices in this tradition that continues to bring us together every year for this special event. And just, on behalf of my family, my husband Marty, just like to thank you so much for your time, your opportunity to speak about our dad, and special thanks to JCL DC chapter in Java. And most of all, just extreme gratitude to those we're surrounded by in this sacred area who gave everything for our country. God bless America.
Good morning. I'll level with everyone here. I hate public speaking, so I've got wicked cotton mouth right now. And so I'll probably stand up here and just death grip this podium throughout the next 5 to 10 minutes. First of all, I'd like to say thank you guys for inviting me and having me here. It's an honor and a privilege to be amongst all of you. Obviously, everyone's come up here and acknowledged Terry Shima. You're definitely an example to follow. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Mike Lewis. I'm an active duty Marine Corps major. I'm a special operations officer over at MARSOC. So if you're wondering, that's why I've got the beard and the long hair. So I'd say more importantly, I'm May's son. I'm her favorite son. And it's also because I'm her only son. And then also, Bob Nakamoto's one of his grandkids. My grandpa was a man of few words. He often listened more than he spoke. So in keeping with tradition, I'm going to keep my speech here very short. So when I was about 8 years old, my grandpa took my mom and I out to Northern California to meet some of our Japanese relatives in the Sacramento area, right? We went out to Alcatraz. We saw the Redwood Forest. We had a large gathering of all of our Japanese relatives for a family dinner, but it was at a Chinese buffet, which I always thought was weird. But towards the end of the trip, my grandpa was like, "Hey, do you want to go meet more of your Japanese relatives?" And I'm 8 years old, so I don't think I have a choice. So I say, "Yeah, sure, that sounds great." And the next day we get in the car and we're driving, and I notice we're driving into a cemetery, which I thought it was a little strange, but again, I'm 8 years old, I'm in the back seat, so I have no control over what's going on that day. And we pull up to this area in the cemetery, and we park, and I'm looking for like a big group of Japanese people that I'm going to figure out are my relatives that I've never met. And I don't see anyone there, though. It's completely empty. So we get out, my grandpa walks around to the car, my mom and I are standing there, and he's like, hey, are you ready to meet the rest of your relatives? And I was like, yeah, sure. And so he points behind me and he goes, they're over there. And it was headstones with Nakamoto written on them. So that was supposed to be a funny story. It seems like it kind of freaks a couple people out. But I say that because, my grandpa had a quiet sense of humor about him. He was able to find humor in stressful situations, and he's able to provide a sense of calm that I think I've rarely seen in leaders that I've worked with in the past and in my last 12 years in the Marine Corps. So to me, as a leader of men, that's very important, to be able to provide a sense of calm soundness in times of stress and chaos. And so for me, it was valuable insight that I gained from being around my grandfather, and I only wish that I could have had him around for a little bit more to have learned additional lessons from him. So at MARSOC, we've got a saying when we reference our brothers that have passed away or been killed in combat, and that reference is never above you, never below you, always beside you. So to my grandpa, Bob Nakamoto, I wish you were here, and thank you guys for coming today.